is computationally, we didn't have enough power to solve those issues. Okay, they had the models, but we cannot handle and solve the problem. We need computational power, and at that time the computation power that we had is very very less, and therefore it didn't get popular. Otherwise, most of the algorithms are very well evolved, very well debated. Okay, and YAML, unlike the artificial intelligence, it is a bit recent because the way we look at things changed a little bit from AI. Okay, after the advent of this internet, okay, we see the data everywhere. Okay, it's all data everywhere, and therefore rather than studying the rules and regulations and solving a problem, okay, the thought was like, why don't we learn the rules and regulations automatically from the data? Okay, so that is the difference. So when AI was initiated, it had you know a set of rules to follow and evolve. But when YAML came in, okay, it is, we wanted to learn patterns and things. Okay, what are all the insights that we can derive from data? That was the main motive behind YAML. Okay, and we'll start from the probability, the basics. Okay, and we'll slowly pick up. Okay, and I sincerely apologize that I was unable to you know uh, do the lecture yesterday, because of my internet problem. Okay, so we'll start with the presentation. And if you have any doubt, as usual, okay, please do stop me at any point, and don't hesitate to interact. Okay, and I love interacting. Okay, if you are not asking me question, then I would ask you the question. Okay, so please do interact. Hope you should receive my screen. Is my screen visible? Do you
Yes,
get my
ma'am. Visible,
screen?
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Visible,
fine.
ma'am.
Okay, thank you, Padmini. Okay, so let's start with this. Okay,
Ma'am,
since I said we can will start. Mani sir.
ma'am, please give hide. Ma'am, கீழே ஹைடுன்னு கொடுத்துருங்க மேம்.
Okay, okay.
Okay, ma'am. Okay, ma'am. Carry on.
Okay. So since okay, we are starting with the probability. Okay, I just wanted to draw your attention. Okay, um, between this probability and statistics. Okay, are they different or are they same? Are they related at all, probability and statistics? Hope we have done this probability and statistics in school itself, right? Are they same or are they different? I'm asking you a question. Just say whatever you feel. It could be right or it could be wrong. See, and in this question has no right answer. Okay, for your information. Is probability and statistics one and the same? Do they talk the same thing? Darshini? Are they same or are they different? Yeah, okay, fine. Thank you, Darshini. Okay, so this is the first question that we are going to address. Okay, both of them are related. Okay, they are very closely related. In fact, you can say that, see, probability is an independent module on its own. Okay, whereas statistics, if you see at the bottom of statistics, we have only the probabilistic statements. Okay, so let's, so it's kind of talking similar things but in different manner, and we will bring out the differences shortly. Okay, so probability, when you take, it is logically self-contained. That means that I do not have any dependency over any other, domain of knowledge. All the rules and regulations of probability are self-defined. Okay, it is kind of a bundle, and it has a very small set of rules. Okay, we have hardly two powerful rules that will govern the entire probability, and the answers to the problem or the question that we are trying to answer will logically follow from the rules. Okay, we can reason out, okay, why the answer is like this. Okay, and we have exactly one answer to the problem. Okay, but the computation can be tricky. Okay, and we have to get this trick only by practice. Okay, so this is about the probability, and if you take the statistics, okay, we apply probability to get the conclusion. Okay, we have data. Okay, and we are using the probabilistic rule to derive some conclusion. Okay, what is the conclusion? It is the answer that we are trying to arrive at, okay, from the data. Okay, and it can be messy and usually involves, the art of doing things. Okay, so here without practice, okay, because you do not have a single right answer here. Okay, different statisticians would bring out different way of solving the problem, and they will come up with different right answers. Okay, so unlike probability, there is only one correct answer, but statistics, you can have interpretation in many different ways, and you can derive many different right answers. Okay, so so with this we will stop discussing about the statistics, but we will go with the probability. Okay, okay, we'll see one example that would give you an idea how probability and statistics can be different. Okay, so we'll see this example. Okay, you have a fair coin, okay, and you are tossing it for 100 times. Okay, you have a fair coin. What do you mean by fair? What do you mean by a fair coin? Excuse me, what do you mean by a fair coin? A white colored coin? Who are all attending? Maybe I should see the nameless. Sayed Shah. Can you answer what is a fair coin? Sayed Shah?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, what is a fair coin?
Ma'am,
What is a fair coin? Fair coin.
I think it's a double side coin like that, ma'am.
Every coin has two sides, right?
No, ma'am, head tail like that, I miss.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Sayed. Okay. Anybody
Thank you,
else
ma'am.
who wanted to try?
Single coin.
Okay, so every coin has. Yes, yes, yes.
Can have a
One at a
random.
time.
It can have randomly whether
Have a
head or tail. Random output.
Okay. Okay, random output. May I know your name, please?
Sandhya, ma'am.
Sandhya. Thank you, Sandhya. Okay, so Sandhya says a fair coin will have random output. Okay, so it is close, but it is not exact. Okay, so when you say a coin is fair, okay, you know that every coin has two sides. Okay, and we are talking about as he said, okay, we are talking about a random process here. Okay, or an experiment, I will say. Okay, experiment is nothing but we are tossing it. Tossing means what? You are just throwing. We have cricket toss and all, right? To decide on who is batting and who is fielding, right? So that is the experiment that we are doing. Okay, in probability term we call that as an experiment, and I call this as a random process. Why? Because when you toss a coin, okay, the coin could either fall as a head or as a, I mean, whatever sides that was open to us, okay, or exposing to us, okay, that is the winning side, okay, that is the outcome of the experiment. Okay, so that could be a head or a tail, okay, which is equally likely if it is a fair coin. Okay, if the coin is fair, okay, the outcome of the each outcome of the experiment is equally likely. Means what? All the outcomes get equal probabilities. Okay, so if the coin is fair, you know that coin has two sides. So it has a 0.5 probability for head and 0.5 probability for tail. Okay, so what does it mean? So when you toss a coin, you have equal chances for head to appear or tail to appear. Okay, now you are tossing the coin for 100 times. Okay, what is the probability of 60 or more heads? Okay, that is at least 60 heads. What is the probability that you get at least 60 heads? Any guesses? Probably not at this time, right? We are just entering the probability. I'll just say the answer, even I don't compute this, okay, but we will have computation and we will arrive at this answer at a later point of time. But not in this session, okay? When we talk about distribution, the binomial distribution will give you the answer. Okay. And the statistics example, okay, but you do not know. I said about a fair coin, then yes or no? Oh, sorry about that. Okay, so technical problems. So how long did you hear me? So did you hear me the same statistics example? Okay, so you have a coin. Do you hear me? Someone please respond.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So I was asking you a question. Okay, so you have a coin here as well, but my question was, you had a fair coin in the previous example, right? So is there an unfair coin then? If there is a fair coin, there should be an unfair coin, right? Yes or no? If you are not responding, I might think that my connection has gone. Okay, please respond now and then so that I will feel, because I don't see your screen or anything. Okay, so if you are not responding me, I do not know. It's mere like mere talking to a screen. Do you hear me? Okay, just respond. Okay, whether it is right or not, we are not bothered. Okay, we are not scoring anything here. Okay, so please respond so that because I just create the presentation screen. Okay, I do not know whether I'm online or offline. Even that I do not know. So just respond with something so that I know that I'm still connected with you. Okay. Okay, so that should be an unfair coin, right? So how can you make an unfair coin? Any idea? Okay, so if you make, see, we have the impressions, right? As Sayed was saying, in one side you will have, we call one side as head, the other side as tail, right? And we have the impressions on that one. On one side, we will have the coin value, right? Whether it is 50 pies or 1 rupee or so on, and the other side will have the Ashok Chakra, right? So if we could, disbalance the weight, okay, that is projecting. Okay, so we could make an unfair coin, and you know that always the weighted part goes down when you flip it. Okay, the weightest part goes down, right? So if you can make one side of the coin heavier than the other, okay, you can make the coin really unbiased, okay, unfair or unbiased. Okay, so here we do not know from where the coin is coming from. Okay, means that we do not know the fairness of the coin. And here also we are tossing the coin for 100 times. Okay, as in the probabilistic problem as well, and we have counted 60 hits. Okay, so as a statistician, people will be interested to draw the conclusion from this data. Okay, so there also you had a coin, but you had a fair coin. Here we have a coin, and the nature of the coin is unknown. And that too, you conducted the experiment for 100 times. Here also you are conducting the experiment for 100 times. There we have counted the outcome. Okay, we have recorded the outcome in the probability. Here also we have counted the outcome of the experiment. Okay, and there we are trying to arrive at the probability of an outcome. Okay, here we are trying to guess the nature of the coin. Okay, so that is the difference between the probability and the statistics. Okay, so random process is completely known. Okay, that is, what is the random process? I'm tossing a fair coin. That fairness is that is the one that describes the nature of the randomness. Okay, and that is completely no. I know the probability of head is 5 and the probability of tail is not 5, 0.5, and probability of tail is 0.5. Okay, completely known. And the objective is to find the probability of a certain outcome arising from the random process. Okay, and what are we trying to do in the probability problem? Can you say what is the outcome that we are looking at? Someone? What is the outcome? I mean, do you want to see the probabilistic problem? From this, what is the probability, or what is the outcome that we are looking at? We are trying to find the probability of an outcome, right? What is the outcome that we are looking at? Can you say from the question?
Probability of 60 or more hits.
More hits. Okay, so that is the answer. Can I know your name, please?
Sandhya, ma'am.
Sandhya again. Thank you, Sandhya. Okay, so it is at least 60 hits. Okay, when you say 60 or more hits, okay, it is at least 60 hits. Okay, so that is the outcome of the process. Okay, but when you consider the statistics, here the outcome is known. Okay, I do not know the nature of the random process, but I can record the outcome. Every time I toss and I record the outcome. Outcome is known. Okay, so we have observed 60 hits. Okay, and objective is to eliminate the unknown random process. Okay, and what is the random process? The probability of okay, the probability of hits, okay, which will imply indirectly, what is the implication from this? If we get the probability of hits, okay, what do we get? What can I say about the random process? See, I tossed it for 100 times I noted that 60 times heads appeared. So from that, can I calculate the probability of heads? Okay, we'll see whether we are able to calculate. Of course, we are able to calculate this, okay, which will say whether the coin is fair or not. Okay, if it turns out that the probability of heads that you compute using this experiment is equal to the probability of tails, okay, then you can draw the conclusion that the coin is fair. Otherwise, you will decide that the coin is unfair. Okay, so with this, we'll stop the discussion about the statistics and we'll get into the probability. Okay. Okay, now why should we learn this probability? Why it is so bothering us? Okay, probability is everywhere. Okay, so if you take the climate or weather modeling, okay, if you feel that today, I mean, we are getting the weather report, right? We'll get the rain today, okay, based on some parameters, okay? They see the clouds, they see the wind speed, they see the temperature, okay? Based on that, they say that it might rain today or we might have a cyclone and so on. Okay, so with how much confidence do you say that this event will occur? Okay, what is an event? All these things. Okay, we say that it is raining today, that is an event. Okay, it is very hot, that is an event. Okay, so with how much confidence can you say that it will rain today or rain tomorrow? Okay, so most probably we are not bothered about the past. Okay, sometimes of course we are interested in the past. Okay, if you wanted to have an investigation of why this happened, okay, we will draw the attention of the past things, but usually these probabilities we are more interested in coming out what will happen in the future. Okay, so will it rain tomorrow or will it rain day after tomorrow, given that today it has rained and so on. Okay, and economic forecasting, okay, stock market, all those things. Okay, you have the price for every product. Okay, it can go up or go down based on the achievements the company is making. Okay, suppose if the company is making a new investment and it has reached a loss, or even there could be a gossip that would lead to the loss for a company. That will, I mean, if somebody says that this company is getting down, okay, people might withdraw their share from that product. Okay, so even a rumor can change the value of products. Okay, all these things, okay, the pattern of how the things changing, okay, can be predicted using this probability. And gambling, okay, although I should not say, okay, people have started this probability, to predict what will happen in the gambling. Okay, so I don't want to go into the details of that one. Okay, googling, okay, how Google is able to get you the right most of the time whenever we search, okay, a particular keyword, then it is able to get you the right answer almost within top 10 options, right? Most of the time we get the first click to be the right answer, right? So how does it do that? Okay, everywhere probability is associated. Okay, they keep on noting down what you are searching for. Okay, so like say for example, there could be a word which would mean two different things. Okay, I don't have a right example. Maybe a product and a bird, maybe Okay, so maybe that when you're searching for this for the first time, okay, it will bring the result of both the things. Okay, and later based on your click, they will understand which is your interest. Okay, so in the first case, both are equally likely, and based on the links that you are visiting, the probability of bringing you the result of a similar page will go high rather than the probability of bringing in the other choice. Okay, so there also probability applies. What about the first question? Whether to take vaccine to COVID-19. Okay, so this also I should not discuss, but what do you think about this one? Can we predict this? Okay, so let's forget about COVID-19. But in general, how do you decide? Okay, suppose if you are trying to take a treatment, okay, or say you have fever, okay, and you wanted to give a blood test, okay, and how much you can believe on that test result. How do you know that when somebody say that, okay, you have the diabetic problem, okay, let me not say you have, let me go and take a test, and the test results say that I have diabetes. Okay, so how much confidence I can have on the test result? Should I really take the result as it is and convince myself that I have diabetes, or should I really worry about the result? Just because that a test is giving me that I have diabetes, should I worry about it? Any idea about this? Anyone? Am I online? Anyone? Divya? Divya, yes. Somebody respond. Yeah, Sandhya again. Sandhya Balachandar. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Should I take the result as such and believe that I have the disease?
Yeah, ma'am. It depends upon the situation. Mostly yes.
Mostly yes. Okay. So thank you, Sandhya, again. Okay. So we will see an example. Okay, how much trust we can have on a test result. Okay. Later we'll see a detailed example when we look into Bayes theorem. Okay. So actually, see, in India, we just believe, okay? But see, every instrument, okay? So when they do a test, they also rely on some instruments and some chemical reactions, right? And it's not always that it has to be correct. Okay, so everything in nature can fail. Okay, and all human made things can fail. Okay, for certain for certain. Okay, but the percentage of failure is much smaller. Okay, and that's why we convince ourselves that the test results could be accepted, but it's not. See, even if there is a high chance that I have the disease, but it's not necessary that I should have. Okay, so for that we will see an example when we talk about the Bayes theorem, but not in this class. Okay, we will just slowly build on. Okay, but convince yourself that there are so many applications, okay, or almost everywhere probability lives. Okay, we always take a chance, that's all. Okay, So the question now is, okay, since there are so many different applications like this which are very useful for us to get the inference, are we going to solve a similar problem now in this course? If you ask me, I'll say no. Okay, we will lay the foundation to understand how to approach these problems and not really provide a solution for this. Okay, so what we are going to do with probability is that we are going to study the toy problems, okay, which are the underlying principles which can be simply scaled out, okay, to the large problems. Okay, if you have strong foundation over how these things work, okay, we can just extend our idea to any complex problems. Okay, so basically we will see coin examples and dice examples, and interestingly, okay, the die we know is the one in yellow color, right? This is the die that we usually use to play, right? The snake and ladder and other things. Okay, but there are several dice. There are many dice, many shapes, and basically for the gaming purposes. Okay, and card problems. Okay, maybe we'll look at one or two examples. Okay, again, all the things that I am saying now will come in future classes. Okay, not in today's classes. Okay, now since we have found that probability is all about counting. Okay, we just count things, right? Count the outcome and a record. Okay, we'll start with counting. Okay, now here is a question for you to work out. Okay, a coin is fair if it comes up with heads or tails with equal probability. You flip a coin, fair coin, 3 times. Okay, what is the probability that exactly one of the flips results in a head? Do you understand the problem? Now we will we'll solve the problem step by step. You have a fair coin, right? And you are flipping the coin for 3 times. So how many different possible outcomes are there when you flip a coin for 3 times? See, every time you flip a coin, you note down the outcome. Second time you flip a coin, you note down the outcome. Third time you flip the coin, you note down the outcome. And these 3 outcomes together will form the single outcome of the experiment, because our experiment is flipping the coin 3 times. So the experiment, for every experiment, or to get a single outcome of the experiment that we are considering, okay, we have to flip the coin 3 times. Or you can think it like this. Okay, so I have said we have a single coin. Okay, so the scenario can be imagined in 2 different ways. Either you flip a single coin 3 times, or you flip 3 coins at a time and note down all their outcomes. Okay, so if you do it this way, how many different possible outcomes are there in the experiment? When you flip a single coin, how many different outcomes can you get?
2, ma'am.
2, right? So you have 2 outcomes for a single coin. So if you have 2 coins,
4 outcomes.
4. So that will be 2 into 2, right? And if you have 3 coins, then sorry. You have 3 coins, you will have
8 outputs, ma'am.
Yeah, 2 into 2 into 2, you will have 8 outputs basically. Can you say one output, sample of one output? May I know your name, by the way?
Sedram, ma'am.
Seduram. Thank you, Seduram.
Welcome, ma'am.
Eh,
All three heads, ma'am.
all three heads. Okay, thank you. Fantastic. Okay, so he is with me. Okay, so these are the 8 possible outcomes that we have. Okay, in the experiment. Okay, so all heads, head, tail. So if you are confused with head and tail, you can think of 0 and 1. Okay, so when you have 3-bit string with a 0 and 1, okay, you know that you can count from 000 to 111. Okay, a total of 8 outcomes. Okay, so this set with probability is called the sample space. Okay, and each one is called a sample. Okay, with probability, when you have the set of all outcomes, okay, and that set is called the sample space. Okay, and each member of the sample space is called a sample or an output of an experiment. Okay, or output or outcome of an experiment. Okay, now what is our question? We wanted to find out which are all the outcomes that had exactly one head in the output. Okay, so which are those examples? One head. Which are those examples? So in the outcome, you had only one head. Which are they? You have it on the screen, right? Just read it out.
Third, fourth, then sixth, seventh.
Third, you have HTT, one head. You have one head here. You have one head here. Which is the other one? Did I make anything wrong? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Something is missing then. Which is the other one?
Ma'am, next to heights T.
Hutch. Yeah, here. No, this is like 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 0, 1, 0, then 0, 1, 1, 1, 0, 0, 1, 0, 1, 1, 1, 0, 1, 1, 1. Then there should be, oh, okay, it's fine. Okay, we have only 3 samples. Okay, fine. Okay, so we have 3 samples which had only one head in their output, right? Now, what will be the probability? Since the coin is fair, all these 8 outputs are equally likely. Okay, since all the outputs are equally likely, okay, so these are the things. Okay, so I can say, am I online?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so you just get the number of outcomes with one. Just hold on. Okay, so we have number of outcomes with one head divided by the total. Sorry, this is number. Okay, so this should be n. Okay, so total number of outcomes. Okay, so you have 3 by 8. That is the probability, and this is how you do it. Okay. Now again one more deviation. Okay, since so what are the new things you see here? Any new mathematical topic that we have discussed here in this slide? Do you see any new? I mean, or already you know that already. You should have learned it in school. Any topic that comes into your picture? Any math topic? and that we haven't discussed so far in this lecture? What is this? Or what is this? What do you call that as? What is this bracket denote?
Parenthesis.
Yeah, parenthesis, but in maths, so when do you use this bracket? Anywhere we want? Yes?
For a set.
Right, okay. May I know your name?
Das Santosh, ma'am.
Das Santosh. Thank you, Das Santosh. And he had the answer, okay? So you have a set, okay? So whenever we use this curly braces to represent a set, right? So that's the next topic that we are going to see, okay? Before that, okay? Can you list the outcomes of 10 flips? Okay, so in the past example, okay, we had 3 coins, and I mean, we had a single coin and we flipped 3 times. What about this? Can you do this? Anyone? Instead of 3 flips, can I scale the problem and say we have 10 flips? Is it possible or not?
10 by 1024.
10 by?
1024.
Yeah, 1024 values you have to write, okay? So this is practically not possible, right? May I know who was that? Who told the right answer?
Hari Prasad ma'am.
Hari Prasad, thank you.
Hari Prasad ma'am.
Thank you. So practically, I mean, we are not leading anywhere, right? The simple counting is fine, but when we have a scaled up problem, okay, so how do we go about this? Okay, so for this also we'll get an answer when we finish this probability topic, okay. Of course, we cannot do it by hand. I mean, we can do it by hand, but not by enumerating the outcomes as we have done here, okay. So here we have explicitly enumerated, in the sense what we have explicitly written each of the outcome. We counted how many outcomes satisfy the property that is necessary in the question, and then we have derived with this number, okay. But here we cannot list out all the outcomes, okay, but we can still compute the probability, okay. Okay, now coming to sets, okay, a quick recap. A set is a collection of elements, okay. Any collection of elements, we can call it as a set, okay. So example, A is 1, 2, 3. B is some vehicle, set of vehicles, train, bus, bicycle, aeroplane, okay. We write 1 is a member of A, okay. This we call it as belongs to, okay. And this is not a member, okay. Ship, okay, is a not a member of B or does not belong to B, okay. And the representations of set, okay, either we can list out the elements explicitly, this is called enumeration, okay. Sometimes, okay, if it is a finite set, what is a finite set? When do you say a set is finite? Is the set C finite? Yes or no question? Is the C set?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, why?
It's countable.
Yeah, thank you. May I know who is that?
Sandhya, ma'am.
Sandhya, thank you, Sandhya. Okay, it is countable. I can count and say how many members are available in C. Okay, so whenever the set is countable or the cardinality, the number of elements or the number of members, okay, we call that as a cardinality. Okay, so when the cardinality of a set is known, we call that set as finite set. Okay, so in this case, so I'm just listing out the alphabets from English from A to K. Okay, so I know the starting. I give the sequence. Okay, I say I'm just listing out the next alphabet. Okay, and then I can put this ellipsis. Okay, and say that means that the next element to B should be obtained in a similar fashion as we have obtained B from A. Okay, so this is coming in succession, right? So the next element will be C and so on till K. The last element is going to be K. If the set has ellipses at the end, okay, it's going infinitely. Okay, that means that the set is not countable. Okay, so that is an infinite set. So here again we have a pattern. Okay, what will be the next element? We increment every next element of next member by 2 from the previous member, right? So the next element will be what? Next element will be what?
8.
8, right? Good. Okay, and the same set we can represent it like this. Okay, so I say set of all j's such that, okay, this colon either for such that either they use this colon or put a bar. Okay, so j such that j is greater than 0 and j is some 2k for some k greater than 0. Okay, so this also represents the same set here. Okay, so this is the initial condition, j is greater than 0 and j is of the form 2k and k is any value greater than 0. So the minimum value k can get is what? K is an integer. Okay, what is the
1.
minimum? 1, right? So when you substitute 1 here, 2 into 1 will be 2, so that is the first element, and k is incremented by 1, so you get 4 and so on. Okay, so this is the representation of the even number, right? Or I can narrate it, okay, like what we have here. Okay, so S is set of all j's such that j is non-negative and even. Okay, and see here we have even numbers which are non-negative. Okay, and may I know the time now? What is the time now?
7-1, ma'am.
7. Can we have a break for 10 minutes and come back? I got my sore throat. Okay, can we just break for 10 minutes and come back, or shall we continue tomorrow? Your option. Just break for 10 minutes, okay, so that my throat is better and I'll just come back. Shall we start? Anyone?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, so the next terminology is universal set, okay, which will have all possible elements described by the characteristics of the set. Okay, so in this case, we have the universal set, okay, which has numbers from 1 to 10, okay, natural numbers from 1 to 10. And we are defining a set A which has elements 1 to 5. Okay, so in a Venn diagram, we represent the universal set usually using the rectangular box. Okay, and it has all the elements. Okay, the elements of A is also inside this rectangular box, and therefore it is also a member of U. Okay, but A has only few elements from U. Okay, and those are 1 to 5. Okay, so with this, we can come up with the terminology of what is a subset. Okay, A is a subset of U, the universal set, because the number of elements in A is actually, okay, we will say the reverse. Okay, the elements in U contains all the elements of A as well as more than A. Okay, so U is a superset of A and A is a subset of U. Okay, and this term subset, okay, is slightly loose. Okay, now here A is a strict subset of U. Okay, suppose if A also had, okay, so suppose if we had 3 dots here and I say 10, okay, as the last element of A, then A again, A is a subset of U. Okay, it means that it can be equal as well. Okay, less or equal with the number of elements and the members. Okay, yeah, members should be same, and the number of members when you consider, okay, it can be at most to the other set you are comparing. Okay, and set operations. Okay, you have two sets. A is 1 to 3, B is 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, and set union is A union B equal to you have all the elements from A, okay, and you will bring in all the elements from B. Okay, so you have 1, 2, 3 from A, okay, and B has 2 which is already included, so I need not duplicate. Okay, so this is one more observation when we write sets. Okay, we need not duplicate the members. Members will be represented only once, so I don't write this 2 again. 3 is also already there, so the members that are missing are only 4 and 5. Okay, and in Venn diagram we have set A, we have another set B, okay, and union of them will include both. Okay, and okay, all the elements. Okay, and intersection A intersection B. Okay, what is common between A and B will come into the intersection part. Okay, so you have 2 and 3 here. Okay, so from 2 and 3 is also available in B. Okay, and that is this shaded part. Okay, so when you write, so you have 1 here, you have 2 and 3, 2 and 3 here in the intersection, and you have 4 and 5 here. Okay, 4 and 5 here. Sorry for a bad writing. Okay, I'm trying to write using a mouse. Okay, and difference. Okay, it is A difference B. We call this as a difference operator. So we will include all the elements from A and exclude an element from A if it is available in B. Okay, it is minus B. Okay, right? So you have to eliminate all the elements which are available in B from A. Rest of the elements from A will be appearing in the output. Okay, so in the output you can have the elements from A only when you have A difference B. So the choices are 1, 2, 3, but you have to exclude the elements which are available in B. Okay, so you have 2 available here, so you have to exclude 2. Again you have exclude 3. Okay, so the result is only 1. What about B difference A? You have to include the elements from B which are not available in A. Okay, so again 2 and 3 are common, which will not be included, and the result will be 4 and 5. Okay, and in Venn diagram, what is it representing? The common elements you don't include. Okay, only this shaded area. Okay, so only this part. Okay, so this common element will not be included. This is not included. Okay, so this is A difference B. Similarly, B difference A is this region. Fine? Is it fine so far? Yes or no? Just to know that I am online.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Okay. Complement is also kind of okay. It's a special difference operator. You have the universal set. Okay. See, difference we take with respect to a particular set. Okay. We say A difference B. Okay, so with respect to B, we are trying to see the members of A. Okay, you know, a complement is we are trying to the default. Okay, it is actually U difference A. That is A complement. Okay, you have a universal set. You have a set A. When you say A complement, this is nothing but the universal set difference the set A. Okay, so that is the complement. So if universal set is 1 to 7 and A is 1 to 3, what will be A complement? You will include all the elements from the universal set and exclude the elements of A. Okay, so you will have only 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, and pictorially you will exclude A and all the things that are outside A will be A complement. What is A double complement? A complement is this one. If you take a complement of complement, so now you are taking complement of this one, okay, the shaded area. So which will result in exclude all these elements and include only this one. Okay, you will exclude all these shaded region, okay, all these shaded region from the universal set, okay, and which will result in only A. Okay. So if you consider the set of even integers and take a complement of them, you will get the set of odd integers. Okay, and integers is the universal set. Okay. De Morgan's law, one of the important laws. Okay. So A union B, if you compute its complement, A union B, the whole complement, what do you get? You get A complement intersection B complement. If you compute this one, you actually compute this one. Let's see this, okay? So this shaded region is A union B, and you are taking the complement of this region, okay? So what should you get? A union B is this whole region, okay, and you are taking a complement of this one. So what do you get? Anyone?
Universal set minus A union B.
So which region will you get?
A intersection B.
A in this region. Okay, let's see. Okay, so this is which is A complement. A complement. This is A, and what will be A complement? A complement will be all this white region. Yes, all these white region as A complement, and B complement is all these white region, right? Now what is common between them? Is this area. Okay, what is outside? See, this is easy to see from this itself, right? So you have A union B, and this is the universal set, right? And you are taking the complement of A union B. What do you mean by A union B, the whole complement? So you are just excluding all the elements which are available in A union B. Rest of the elements in the universal set you have to include. That means that all these area outside A union B is what is our interest, right? Is it okay or not? So in this, here you have B included, here you have A included, and you are taking an intersection. But when you take an intersection, it should be available in both, right? So here A is not available, here B is not available. Right or not? So A and B will be excluded, and all the region outside these two bubbles, okay, will appear. So you will not have this region. Sandhya, understood?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so you will have all the region outside the two bubbles. Okay, similarly, you can compute A intersection B, the whole complement. Okay, so basically you will leave out only these regions, and rest of the regions should be covered. Okay, so that is the meaning of this one. This is A intersection B, and all the region outside that should be in A intersection B. Okay, so that we should be able to get by making the union of A complement and B complement. Okay, so let's see. So this is A complement again. You don't include A, rest of the regions. Okay, all these regions. Okay, all the things available outside, and okay, so this will not. Sorry, you will not have the intersection part. Okay, so you will have the B's. Okay, this intersection part will be excluded. Okay, and you have all. So this is a B complement. So you will have everything in A and all the region of outside B. Okay, so when you make a union, okay, so A will be included. This part will be included from B complement. Okay, so that part comes here. Okay, and this part of B comes from A complement. So this part comes here, and in both the cases we don't have this one. Okay, so this cannot be included, and all the region outside are included in both A complement and B complement. Okay, so all those region will appear except this shaded one. Okay, so this is De Morgan's law. Okay, so the other interesting set is the empty set or the null set. Okay, and we denote it by the symbol. And how do you pronounce this symbol? This is a Greek symbol, right? How do you pronounce this? Null set. Okay, so you can either pronounce it as phi PHI. Okay, so I mean, when I was doing my schooling, okay, people used to say this as phi. Okay, phi. Recently, okay, so there is a competition between this British English and American English, right? So in Britain English, okay, so you see this as a phi. Okay, and if it is American English, you say this as phi. Okay, so both are, so I could interchangeably use it. Both the way represent this symbol, okay, which represents the null set. Okay, so the other way to represent the null set is empty brackets. Okay, and the properties. Okay, when you make a union of null set with any set, you get the same set, right? Because union should include all the members from S and all the members from phi. So you will have all the members from S and phi does not have anything. So the result is yes. And what about S intersection phi? Okay, what is common between S and phi? That is what we are interested in. And since we have nothing in phi, okay, there could be nothing in common between S and phi. So we'll have the null set as the answer. And yes, difference phi. Okay, when you have difference, I have to include all the elements from S and exclude the elements from phi. Okay, and since we don't have anything in phi, we'll have S as the result. And the difference in the other way, phi difference S, any S, okay, will result in phi because I don't have anything in phi to include and I have to exclude all the elements in S. Okay, so what about phi complement? It will be the universal set. Okay, any doubt in this? Are you all with me? Yes or no?
Ma'am.
Okay. Okay, subset. Okay, so whatever we have discussed in the beginning of the sets. Okay, sorry. Escape will not work. And we are still practicing this online teaching. Sorry about that. Okay, my mouse is not working. Okay. Now we have set A and B. Okay, clearly you can see that A is a subset of B because you have all the elements of A available in B, right? And we call A as a proper subset of B because A has all the elements in B and the number of elements in A is less than B. Okay, so A is a proper subset of B and B is a super subset. Okay, a super set of A. And see this symbol. Okay, whichever set is larger, there you will have this broader, angle, and this will be an acute one. Okay, suppose if A had, in addition to this, if A had 7, now what can you say? Suppose if A had 4 elements, 1, 2, 3 and 7. Now what can you say about this relationship?
Ma'am, A is a subset of B, but it's not a proper subset.
Why?
Because it doesn't contains all the elements. Because 7 is not present in B.
So that therefore you say this condition does not hold. Huh? Is that so, Sandhya? Say, is it Sandhya first of all?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so here, okay, so when you say subset, okay, you have to you're slightly wrong, Sandhya. Okay, so when you say a subset, okay, it has to be completely available. Remember this figure, okay? So pictorially, if you register things in your mind, it is easy for us, okay? When you say subset, it has to be inside the other one. That means that I cannot have any other elements which are not available in B. Okay, so since 7 is not a member of B, as you said, okay, A is not a subset at all. Okay, it's not a subset at all because I have a member which is not available in B. Okay, so when A is like this, how can you draw? You can draw only like this. A is this and B is this. Okay, so A has 1, 2, 3. A and B has 1, 2, 3 in common. Okay, and apart from that, it has 7. Rest of the elements, okay, 4 and 5 are available here. Okay, you can draw the diagram only like this. Agreed, Sandhya?
Yes, ma'am. Understood.
Okay, so you cannot say that A is a subset of B if you have 7 additionally. Okay, and proper subset will be completely inside this one. And if so, A can be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If A is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, still I can say A is a subset of B and B is a subset of A, and neither of them are proper subset to each other. Okay, if it is proper, then see, if it is a subset, we have to have all the members of the subset to be in the superset. This is the condition. If it is proper subset, okay, we just eliminate this, equal to sign. That means that the number of elements, it should be a subset. In addition to that, the number of elements in the subset should be less than, strictly less than the superset. Here it can be less than or equal to. Number of elements of A can be less than or equal to B. Okay, but the elements of A should be available in, all the elements of A should be available in B. Okay, disjoint sets. Okay, so I have A to be 1, 2, 3 and B is 4 and 6. Okay, and if A intersection B is phi, then we say that these two sets A and B are disjoint. That means that we have nothing in common between them. Okay, so those are disjoint sets. And set cardinality, okay, it will just say how many members are available in the set. Okay, and we can define the set cardinality only for finite sets. Okay, because only finite sets are countable. Power sets. Power set is a set of set. Okay, set of, I'll say set of subsets. Okay, it's wrong. Okay, I mean it's a loose definition. Okay, so set of all subsets is the power set. Okay, so suppose if S is A, B, C, okay, what is the cardinality of S? The cardinality of S, power set of S is indicated by this one, or they say P of S. Okay, either the power set of S they will represent using P of S. Okay, in open braces. Okay, sorry for my bad writing. Okay, so it is P of S like this, or it is 2 power S. Okay, why? Because the cardinality of the superset of S we can compute by 2 to the power of the number of elements in S. Okay, so since we have 3 elements, it is 2 to the power 3, which is 8. Okay, so I can have 8 subsets for this S. Okay, what are they? Empty set is a subset of any set. Okay, so we'll include this. And these 3 sets are called singleton set. Okay, because it has only one element in them, so it is called a singleton set. Okay, so one for A, B, and C, and then we combine. Okay, A with B, A with C, then B with C. So you have 3 sets with 2 elements. Okay, finally ABC is a subset of ABC. Okay, so we will include that as well. Okay, so we have 3 plus 3 plus 2. Okay, so totally 8 elements. Cartesian product. Okay, so when you have 2 sets, okay, A and B, okay, the Cartesian product of A and B is a pair. Okay, is a pair AB such that A belongs to capital A and B belongs to capital B. Okay, I should say this is an ordered pair, not simply a pair, but instead it is an ordered pair. What is the difference between simply a pair and ordered pair? What do you mean by ordered? Any guess? Do we have any order in writing this? What is the spelling for apple?
The first value belongs to set A and the second value belongs to set B, ma'am.
Thank you so much. May I know who is this?
Das Santosh.
And Das again. Thank you, Das. Okay. So order means you have a particular sequence to follow. Okay. If I wanted to, get the word car, I should write C first, then followed by C is A, then I have to write R. Okay. I have a sequence. This has to appear one after the other. I cannot randomly write that one. I cannot write B comma A. No. Okay, so we have a specific sequence to follow. Okay, that is the order. Okay, so here my format is A comma A, and small a will belong to the set A and small b will belong to B. Okay, so how many elements will be there in A cross B? The Cartesian product, the number of elements in A. So we will combine all the element of A with all the elements of B. Okay, so the number of elements in A cross B will be the number of elements in A into the number of elements in B. Okay, so we'll have how many elements? Here we have 2 elements, here we have 3 elements. So 2 into 3 is 6 element. Okay, so A cross B will have 6 pair. Okay, ordered pair. Okay, so 2 will combine with this 2. Okay, see here I have 2 comma 2. Okay, so this pair, see in a set, I cannot repeat this 2 comma 2 again. Okay, but this 2 is different from this 2. Okay, because why? Because this 2 came from A and this 2 came from B. Okay, so it is okay to write this 2 comma 2, but I cannot repeat this pair again in the set. Okay, so again I can combine this 2 with 3. Okay, so 2 comma 3, 2 with 5, 2 comma 5, then 4 with 2, 4 with 3, and 4 with 5. Okay, so this is combination of 4 with B, and this is combination of 2 in A with the elements of B. Okay, and you can generalize this to any number of sets. Okay, suppose if I have one more set C, which is like A comma B, say for example. Okay, I have small a and I have small b. Okay. Suppose if I have something like this, A cross B cross C. Suppose if I compute A cross B cross C, how many elements will be there?
12, ma'am.
12, right? And can you say one example, Sandhya? One element of A cross B. A cross B cross
2,
C.
2, comma 2, comma A.
2 comma 2 comma A and so on, right? 2 comma 2 comma B. Then all these things, okay? So you have A cross A. This set you have to make a cross with this A. So you'll have comma A here, comma A, all the elements comma A and all the elements of A cross B comma B. Okay, so totally 12 elements. Okay, so with this we'll put a stop to set. Okay, and we'll meet sometime tomorrow. Okay, and discuss more on probability. Any doubts so far? Is this pace of doing is correct, or did you find anything useful today or nothing? No answer.